Behind prison walls and inside city streets, some of America's most feared groups built systems of power. But what really gave them influence, and how did that power collapse? Level 1. Mexican Mafia, La M. In the 1950s, inside California state prisons, a small group of Mexican-American inmates formed an alliance. At first, it was about survival. Prison life was divided along racial lines. Protection was everything. But over time, this group evolved into something much larger. They called themselves the Mexican Mafia, also known as La M, the Spanish name for the letter M. Unlike most gangs, La M's power did not depend on numbers. It depended on structure. They created a strict hierarchy. They enforced discipline. They demanded loyalty. Soon, Hispanic street gangs outside prison were expected to follow their rules. If a street gang member went to prison, survival often meant aligning with La M. They collected taxes from drug operations. They influenced who could operate in certain neighborhoods. Orders were sent from prison cells to the streets. Federal investigations eventually targeted top leaders. Many received life sentences. Today, their influence is not as open as before, but the model they created changed how prison gangs operate in America. Level 2. MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha. In the 1980s, Los Angeles was changing. Many immigrants from El Salvador had arrived, fleeing a brutal civil war. They settled in poor neighborhoods, facing poverty, discrimination, and violence. In that environment, small groups formed for protection. One of those groups became known as MS-13, short for Mara Salvatrucha. At first, it was about survival on the streets, but over time, the gang developed a reputation for extreme violence. In gang culture, reputation means power. The more feared you are, the less you are challenged. MS-13 expanded beyond Los Angeles into other U.S. states, and even back into Central America. Their activities included drug distribution, extortion of local businesses, street-level assaults, recruitment of young members. Law enforcement agencies labeled MS-13 a transnational criminal organization. Over the years, large federal operations led to thousands of arrests. Today, the gang still exists in some areas, but constant crackdowns have disrupted much of its structure. The story of MS-13 shows how groups born from survival can evolve into organized crime, and how that path often ends in prison or deportation. Level 3. Aryan Brotherhood. In the 1960s, inside the U.S. federal and state prison systems, another powerful group began to form. They called themselves the Aryan Brotherhood. Unlike large street gangs, this group stayed mostly behind bars. Their numbers were small, but their influence inside certain prisons was significant. The gang was built around white supremacist ideology and strict loyalty rules. Membership required commitment. Disobedience could mean severe punishment. Inside prison, they became involved in drug distribution networks, protection rackets, coordinated violence. Their structure was tight and organized. Leaders gave orders through coded messages. Members followed strict rules. Over the years, federal investigations targeted top figures. Many leaders received life sentences in high-security facilities. Today, their power is far more limited than during their peak years. But their history shows how prison systems can create tightly controlled criminal networks that operate almost entirely behind walls. Level 4. Crips. In the late 1960s, South Los Angeles was facing rising poverty, violence, and limited opportunity. Out of that environment, a youth street group formed. It became known as the Crips. What started as a local street organization quickly expanded. But the Crips were not one single gang. They became a network of smaller groups known as sets. Each set operated in its own neighborhood. Some were more organized, some were more violent. Not all operated the same way. Over time, the Crips became heavily involved in drug distribution, territorial disputes, long-running rivalries, especially with the Bloods. At their peak, membership estimates reached tens of thousands across multiple states. Because of their decentralized structure, shutting down the entire organization proved difficult. Law enforcement crackdowns over decades reduced coordination between sets. Today, many Crip-affiliated groups still exist, but their structure varies widely from one city to another. Their story reflects how neighborhood-based groups can grow into nationwide networks when identity, territory, and reputation combined. Level 5. Bloods. In the early 1970s, several street groups in Los Angeles came together for one reason: protection. They were responding to the rapid growth of the Crips. This loose alliance became known as the Bloods. Unlike a single centralized gang, the Bloods developed as a network of independent sets. Each set had its own leaders and local rules. Over time, identity became important. The color red became a symbol of unity. Territory became a symbol of control. The Bloods became involved in street-level drug sales, territorial conflicts, rivalries with Crip-affiliated sets. At their height, they expanded beyond Los Angeles into other states. Because they are decentralized, activity levels vary widely from city to city. Over decades, federal and local law enforcement targeted major leaders. Large-scale coordination declined, but some local sets still operate today. Their history reflects how rivalry and neighborhood loyalty can shape long-term street conflicts.
Level 6. 18th Street Gang. In Los Angeles during the 1960s, a street gang formed near 18th Street. Over time, it became one of the largest multi-ethnic street gangs in the United States. Unlike many gangs that limited membership to one background, 18th Street recruited broadly. That openness helped it grow quickly. The gang spread beyond California into multiple states. At its peak, membership estimates reached into the tens of thousands. Their activities included drug sales, extortion, street-level violence, ongoing rivalry with groups like MS-13. Because of its size and structure, it became a major focus of federal investigations. Large operations over the years led to thousands of arrests. Today, the gang's centralized strength has declined, but smaller local groups still operate in certain regions. Its story shows how rapid recruitment and expansion can create large networks, but also attract heavy law enforcement attention. Level 7. Barrio Azteca. In the 1980s, inside Texas prisons, a group formed that would later extend its reach beyond prison walls. That group became known as Barrio Azteca. At first, it functioned as a prison-based organization, but over time, it expanded toward the US-Mexico border region, especially around El Paso. Unlike loosely connected street gangs, Barrio Azteca developed a more organized structure. It became linked to cross-border drug trafficking, extortion networks, coordinated violence, cooperation with larger criminal organizations. Its power came from discipline and strong internal rules. However, major federal investigations targeted its leadership. High-profile arrests and long prison sentences weakened its central command. Today, its large-scale influence is far more limited than during its peak years. Its history highlights how prison-based groups can evolve into cross-border criminal networks, and how sustained law enforcement pressure can dismantle centralized power.